is the actual growth potential of your agency or service business right now? Well, by the end of this video, I'm gonna share the 2 different ways that you can look at your growth potential inside of your agency that are gonna either hold you back from growth or explode your growth. Let's get it going. Welcome back, guys. Greg Hickman here, founder of Alt Agency at altagency.com. And like I said, I want to share a little bit about the 2 ways that you can look at your potential of growth inside of your agency or your freelance business and or your service business. And this actually comes from a book that I'm reading right now called The $1 Million Real Estate Investor. As our business has grown over 7 figures, I'm now looking at things that I can do to invest our money so that I can replace our active income with passive income, and real estate is one of those vehicles that I'm interested in getting started in. In this book, they talked about different ways of thinking about investing and how you have to look at the growth potential of your investments. And it really translates hand in hand over to growing an agency or a creative service business. But when I often talk to service providers, the first thing that they say when I ask, like, what is your growth potential, or how are you expecting to grow, they always say things like, I can just sell more. And the reality is, when it comes to selling more is usually the most difficult way to increase profits. And that's because in the best case, your percentages stay the same. And in the worst case, and more common, the expenses generated to support the sales increasing faster actually result in smaller percentages and a smaller profit margin, which we see time and time again. As you get more clients, you need more help, and revenue goes up, expenses usually go up, but the overhead, the management, the headache, the complexities that grow with that shrink that margin as revenue is going up. And this goes up too, that margin shrinks. And so we see a lot of people get stuck, which is why we believe that one of the best vehicles for growth is to add on a revenue stream that's more leveraged, which I talk about in the video that's linked right up here and or in the description below that you can check out. And also we talk about this a lot in our free Facebook group. So if you're not already in our Facebook group, you can visit altagency.com/group. Hop on in there. We do live trainings each and every week, sharing strategies, tips, and tools to help you grow more effectively, more profitably. And obviously, if you're liking this content so far, I would love to see you subscribe. But back to the point is, when we think of our growth potential, there are really 2 types of owners. There are the people that think in terms of what's probable, and those that think in terms of what's possible. The probability thinkers, they base their view of their future financial selves on their past history and current capabilities. They say things to themselves like, based on who I've been and who I am, this is probably what I can financially accomplish in the future. And this really reminds me of people like myself that come from an agency. They left corporate and they understand the traditional agency model. They went off on their own. They got a client here, they got a client there, and next thing they know, they sort of have the resemblance of a business. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm making some money. I need to make more, but I'm drowning in work. So I go hire help, and then I go to try to find the next client. And so begins the hamster wheel, where you are trying to survive following a lot of advice that comes from traditional agency growth, which, guess what? In today's world, there are so many different ways to build a profitable and healthy agency business where you serve your clients at the highest level without just selling your time for your money. And we talk about that a lot on this channel. But what my point is, if you're a probability thinker, you're probably looking at only the way things worked in the past, only how it used to be done, or what you are familiar with and what's comfortable. Whereas if you're a possibility thinker, you rarely start to utter the words, I can't do it. Possibility thinkers are the ones that set aside any limiting notions they might have about their financial potential and base their view of their future financial selves on what they imagine themselves to be capable of accomplishing. And they use an altogether different vocabulary. Their potential is described in terms of what's conceivable, what's imaginable, and what's possible. And they say things like, I have dreams for a reason. Based on who I can become, this is what I can financially accomplish. And I find this really interesting because a lot of the agency owners that we work with, or even freelancers that come to us and they're like, I'm tired of doing the work the way that I've been doing it. Everything is custom. There has to be a better way. I have all of this knowledge and I'm getting paid for these commoditized services. And if you just always think like a probability thinker, you're likely going to be running against a glass ceiling and feeling like you're always on this hamster wheel because there's not obvious ways to grow because you look to the old advice. Whereas now you could bolt on training, you could bolt on consulting, you could package up that expertise and turn it into a 2-day workshop. There's so many different ways to monetize your skills in a way that isn't just selling your time and isn't just selling your labor. And the agency of the future is going to have multiple streams of revenue. Not just done for you services that should likely come from your core service, not all of the services, but also revenue streams like training or events, workshops, intensives, consulting, coaching, courses, things like that. There's a lot of different ways you can serve people at a really high level and have an impact without it all being on top of you as the owner. And so that's going to require you to be a possibility thinker. Now, here's the rub on that one. The 2 ways of seeing your potential we just talked about: probability, right? Probabilities and possibilities. Right? And so on the probability side, it's really about your self-view. It's what I'm used to, what I'm comfortable with. But when you turn into a possibility thinker, you actually become or start looking at things through the possibility of the worldview. And you'll start to see how other businesses are making money with Zoom and things like that. Like the way in which you can transfer your knowledge and your skills to other people in a more leveraged way and grow your business without having to hire tons and tons of people, with those margins kind of getting smaller and smaller as they grow together. Like, you need to kind of shift how you think in order to do that. And so when you make this shift to a possibility thinker and you're looking at things more from a worldview, you'll kind of look at more of what's imaginable versus what's realistic. And I find that the people that are stuck most right now that we serve or come to us looking for help are stuck in this probability mindset. All they think about is, well, I need 1 or 2 more clients and then I'll make a tiny bit more money, but I'm gonna be working more hours, but that's just how it's gonna be. That's what I see everybody else doing. That's what looks realistic to me. So you're gonna have to change how you look at the game, because if you want to grow, you need to be different, not just better. And the way that you grow an agency today doesn't have to be the same that it was 20 years ago, which honestly I think is a dying model. So my question to you is, what type of thinker are you? Are you the probability thinker who's going to stay stuck on the hamster wheel? Or are you the possibility thinker who is going to reimagine their business, fall in love with their craft, and start having multiple ways of driving revenue and multiple ways of serving clients at a higher level, and finally having a business that serves you and not the other way around? Which one's it gonna be? I'd love to know what you're gonna do moving forward, how you're gonna think about the possibilities that you have for your business in the comment section below. Hit me up with possibilities or probabilities. Hopefully we don't see any probabilities there because it's all about what's possible for you, and that's limitless. So I hope to see you in the comments. And if you like this content, I wanna break down in this video or one of our upcoming videos that you'll see here on the screen, how you can start to reimagine your agency for these 3 revenue streams.